On this week's episode of The Automated Entrepreneur, Debt Consolidation Options Part 3. For the last couple of weeks, we've been sharing with you some options to help you consolidate your debt, which allows you to increase your cash flow and pay down the balance by having all of the debts under one particular financial arrangement. So let's continue on with that thought. Option number 5 is to consolidate using a debt management program. Now, if none of the previously discussed options work for you, then a debt management program just might be the right fit for your situation. A debt management program consolidates all of your credit card payments into one monthly payment. You then make this one monthly payment to a credit counseling organization, and they will then disperse all of the funds to your various creditors on your behalf. Your creditors will have to agree to allow you to go onto this program, but they typically will if a nonprofit credit counselor believes that this program is the right fit for you and kind of endorses you, and then sends them a proposal that demonstrates how they're going to do this for you. If you enroll in a debt management program, all of your credit card debt will be paid off within 5 years, and that is a huge benefit for most people. However, you have to keep in mind that most people will pay off their program as fast as they can and have the average program completed in under 3 years. And that is awesome news indeed. Let's consider interest rates for debt management programs such as we've just discussed. Well, if you work with a reputable nonprofit credit counseling organization, your interest rates will typically be reduced to either zero or to a very low interest rate, but not all creditors will go to zero, but most of the major ones do. For-profit credit counseling companies also try to help people by offering debt management programs, but creditors often don't allow them to offer the same low interest rates that they allow nonprofits to do. So there's a big difference. To cover their costs, nonprofit credit counseling organizations usually charge small fees for their management programs. For-profit companies typically charge a large upfront fee of thousands of dollars for the same service. Unfortunately, many times, for-profit credit counseling agencies charge these large fees, and then they don't provide the same level of service. So watch out for that. Reasons for this can include some creditors refusing to work with them or refusing to allow their clients to receive the same drastically reduced interest rates that nonprofit credit counseling services are allowed to offer. Now let's consider some of the advantages of consolidating with a debt management program. First of all credit card debt is often paid off in less than 3 years, 5 years at the max. Secondly, low interest or no interest is available. Third, your credit report and credit score can be completely repaired 2 years after you finish your debt management program. Fourth, nonprofits provide free one-on-one help, budgeting workshops, and credit education, and you should take advantage of that. And lastly, this service can also provide dramatic intangible benefits like substantially lowering stress, helping you sleep again, and improving family relationships because of that, because they were once strained by your financial situation. So those are some very good advantages indeed. Now let's discuss the disadvantages of consolidating with a debt management program. First of all, not everyone can do it. Your creditors must agree with the credit counselor that this program makes sense for you. Secondly, it will impact your credit score until the 2 years after which you have finished the program. And thirdly, for-profit credit counseling companies can charge higher fees. Now let's consider the 6th option available to you, to consolidate by using a debt settlement. Up until October of 2010, Canadian credit debt settlements were primarily done in only one way. If you were having extreme difficulty paying off your credit cards and you happen to receive a large chunk of cash from somewhere, you could contact your creditors and offer to settle your debt with them for less than the full balance if they would accept a one-time lump sum payment. If your creditor thought that this was a better way to go than waiting for you to slowly, forever pay off your debt with them, then they might actually accept your offer, and you might be able to repay only 50 to 75% of your debt. Well, anyone can call up their creditors and try to settle their debts in this manner, but you're unlikely to succeed. And that's because most successful approaches now work with credit counseling organizations because they know what your creditors are likely to accept and what they won't consider. because most people don't have a rich uncle or a fairy godmother to lend them this kind of money necessary. It's not a realistic option for most people because they just don't have access to that lump sum amount. However, in October of 2010, Canada was introduced to a sensational new way of settling credit card debt that could in fact work for nearly anyone. So listen up. All you have to do is stop paying your creditors, save up your own money, and then have an expert negotiator work out a settlement for you. Now, we're not recommending this. We're simply informing you of what is available. Unfortunately, this method doesn't really work for most people, even though Canadian debt settlement companies spend millions of dollars advertising that this is simple. It's not. After fielding thousands of complaints from angry consumers and thoroughly investigating the matter, the government has enacted legislation to prevent for-profit debt settlement companies from charging people fees for debt settlement services before providing the debt settlement service. So you'll want to keep that in mind. And those are two options for you to consider. The other thing you want to keep in mind is the interest rates if you decide to do a debt settlement. Once a creditor agrees to a settlement amount and you pay it by their settlement expiry date, no more interest rates or fees would be charged. The debt is then legally paid in full, as long as you have this in writing, of course. And debt settlements can range from less than 20% to as high as over 80%. So it all depends on the situation and the company you're working with. Someone who has become disabled or cannot work again or has suffered a debilitating illness, well, they're probably going to be an ideal candidate for this type of structure, this debt settlement. However, someone who's just trying to take advantage of their creditors is not going to stand a chance that this is going to work for them. The advantages of using such a situation, a debt settlement, potentially you could repay far less than you owe and quickly eliminate your debt. Your credit could be completely repaired within 2 years or less once your settlement is complete. The disadvantages? Well, you need to have that lump sum available to you, and if you don't have a rich uncle or a fairy godmother, then this option is not likely going to help you. For-profit debt settlement services have less than a 10% success rate, and 65% of their clients do not receive the service in return for the fees, so you must check out the company you're working with very carefully. And lastly, your credit will be negatively impacted by a debt settlement. Your credit will take 6 to 7 years to recover should you decide to use this option. There are 7 ways that we may help you. First, I recommend you subscribe now to this podcast, Automated Entrepreneur, on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Breaker, and more. Secondly, follow us on Instagram at The Automated Entrepreneur, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Automated Entrepreneur. Next, why not take 20 minutes and complete our short questionnaire? This easy tool allows us to determine your readiness to create and launch real prosperity this year. Next, you could book a free coaching call to get your questions answered and experience real growth right now. Or you could sign up for our Ignite Bootcamp, our online monthly program where you can actually do it in your pajamas while learning how to eliminate debt, pay off your mortgage in 8 years or less, create passive income, invest in real estate, and much, much more. Visit us at ignitepro.ca. And lastly, you could register for our Prosperity Code program, where you will launch a new business, claim tax deductions, and create passive income. Visit us at join.theprosperitycode.ca. And that's this week's episode of The Automated Entrepreneur.